I'm Liz Cipollina, and I decided to take the Eat on $4 a Day challenge. It was a Facebook group set up by Beth Newman based on the principles of Leanne Brown's book, Eat Good and Cheap. $4 a day is the average food stamp benefit a food stamp or SNAP recipient gets per day. Doesn't sound like very much. It was a surprising number for me. It may be a surprising number for a lot of you also. My husband and I, who form our family here at home now, it would be two of us, $56 total a week for us. I followed the guidelines from some other people that I've seen who have tried to do the same thing. I had the benefit of researching things online, and I had the benefit of talking to other people at the Connecticut Food Bank. I also learned some things from various films, including Fed Up and A Place at the Table. I researched recipes, ideas, nutrition guidelines, shopping tips. Stuck mostly with Leanne Brown's book, Eat Good and Cheap. I found that it included very little meat, no alcohol. We cut out desserts, and my husband is not a breakfast eater, allowing for the fact that he needs to eat at work. And I had a business lunch today, and I have a charity dinner on Friday. Other than that, we are going to work within those guidelines. I was able to spend about $47 at a major grocery store. I did not use coupons. I did use my frequent shopper card. Again, no meat except for a pound of hamburger and 2 chicken breasts. We're going to rely on soups and rice and dried beans, which is a lot what the book relies on and which is a lot what people rely on. You cannot have a meat-based diet and be on SNAP benefits. It just doesn't work that way. Trying to do some clever things. I'm using items in my pantry. You'll be able to see. It wasn't particularly easy. I have a few shots of some of the food I bought. I prorated for some of the food here that I'm going to use. This morning I woke up and I made banana pancakes that will hopefully last me for breakfast for the week. And tonight it's a basic chicken, potatoes, and broccoli. Fresh vegetables, also very unlikely in a food stamp budget because of the price. Would like to remind you that I have the time and the resources to do this. I can drive to different venues. We have a lot of farmers markets and discount grocery stores. Many people served by SNAP just don't have those benefits. So please keep that in mind as we go through this. I'm going to check in every other day, let you know what some of my challenges were, some of the problems that I came across when I was preparing the meals, some of the trade-offs that I had to make, some of my concerns about nutrition, whether we were hungry or not. You're going to see a few snapshots that I'm going to take of the food, restaurant menus to show you how absolutely impossible it is to eat out on $4 a day. Hopefully it will help illustrate the problem of food insecurity in America, hunger in America. I'm not entering this as a naive individual. I understand what the issues are, but they're not my issues. And this is a chance for me to experience that a little bit. Thanks. All right, day one. And I have chosen to make banana pancakes to cover my breakfast for the week. The yield, according to the recipe in Good and Cheap, is 10 to 15 pancakes. So I'm planning on 2 pancakes per day for the days that I need them. My other breakfast is peanut butter and jelly oat bars, which I'll be making later. My tea is steeping. I'm using mashed bananas that are day old, items from my pantry including baking powder, baking soda, a little bit of brown sugar. The flour that I bought, I won't be using all 3 pounds of this flour, so I'm sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to prorate my use. My tea is loose tea, which I've also figured into my budget based on the money I had left over when I was done shopping. It's steeping, and I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of honey. So that's the breakfast plan. I'll let you know what they look like when they're done. Okay, so I'm going to make my pancakes, let my batter sit. I'm opting not to put the extra bananas in, because I wanted to save those 2 bananas. My husband likes to eat those. Speaking of him, he does not eat breakfast, so that's a benefit for us. That money can go into making larger meals for dinner, which he prefers. Also, when he's at work, he's going to be trying to eat similarly to what we would eat if we were here. And that's going to be grilled cheese, peanut butter leftovers. That's what I had for lunch. That's basically what I'm having for lunch. Because he has to get lunch at work, he's going to get small salads, grilled cheese sandwiches. Try to keep it pretty much like we would do here. It's not a perfect plan, but it's the best we can do under the circumstances. So I'm going to cook these up. I'm going to eat about 3 small ones for breakfast every day. And then I'm going to keep the rest in the freezer and pop them in the toaster when I need to. It was interesting getting up so early and trying to do all this. I look forward to making some other things today, including soaking and cooking beans and making peanut butter and jelly bars for other breakfasts and snacks. On day 3 of the $4 a day food challenge, the past couple of days I've stuck with the recipes and the food plan that we had. I did find a couple of things that I had to do. We had chicken and potatoes and broccoli last night for dinner. I decided not to eat my chicken breast so I could save it to make chicken salad sandwiches. So I just had the vegetables, which I was okay with because I'm not a big meat eater, but I'm also not a teenage boy. I'm not a 6-year-old girl. I'm not a pregnant woman. I'm not all of those things where people need that protein in order to stay as healthy as possible. I can make the decision as a relatively healthy 50-year-old whether I want to eat that or not. And, I am fairly active. My job is pretty physically strenuous. I do not work all the time, but I am constantly on my feet and constantly on the move. What I am doing for this challenge is I have a Fitbit. It's one of those fitness trackers. Count your steps, your activity level. Used it for some time, just kind of keeps me honest about the calorie intake. So my hope is at the end of this to be able to tell you how many calories I actually think I am getting. Nutrition value, it can only be reflected in what we eat. We've had chicken and potatoes and broccoli. We've had grilled cheese and apples cut up and celery. Tonight we're having salad and pasta with a chicken and onion sauce. We've stuck with, I have a SodaStream machine, so I make seltzer water. I've added some cranberry juice to that. The snacks have been popcorn. Again, my husband doesn't eat breakfast, so he ends up snacking a little heavier in the evening because that's really when he enjoys eating. A couple things I've noticed as I go through this is I've noticed in particular how much more thoughtful you have to be about waste and how much things cost. And when I mean thoughtful, I don't mean in the sense where you're kinder about it. You actually have to think. I wanted to have a tomato for the salad. I had to stop and buy it today, 99 cents, and I looked very carefully when he was weighing it and realized that tomato was going to be $1. So whatever slush I had, which is going to be $3 for the week, third if it was taken up with a tomato, that's going to be for one meal. And those are the types of things you really have to think about. Waste is another issue. In peeling the sweet potatoes the other night, I was very careful to only peel just what I needed to do in order to make the potatoes that I intended to do. Sometimes I just go with the broccoli and cut the stalks off. I did not do that this time. I definitely kept the stalks on. And pantry items, I know that that's basically, according to Beth Newman's challenge in the event that she set up, was pantry is a given. It's whatever you have. I'm still trying to be aware of what I use because, frankly, I have a full pantry. I have over 30 different kinds of spices. I have garlic. I have good quality olive oil. I have the things that a lot of people who are on SNAP benefits don't have. So I think that's something everybody should keep in mind is, can we all be successful in this challenge? Yes, I can be, because I have the resources to do it. But I'm trying to keep the thought prescient that I understand that this is not as easy as it looks. I'm not kidding myself, but I am trying to understand it a little better. We have no major health issues, by the way. We don't have gluten intolerance. I have a seafood allergy, which is great because we can't afford seafood. We're in relatively good health. I do not tolerate eating cooked eggs well, so that's a very big thing, particularly in Leanne Brown's book, Eat Good and Cheap, to rely on the protein in eggs, and that's a problem for me. So that's something that we have to work around. So I had to do a little work today. Today was a cooking day. In order to do any sort of well-budgeted weekly food plan, a lot of that means that you need to do all your cooking at home. That doesn't work for a lot of people, but if you stick with the basic premise that that's how it's going to keep you in the $4 a day budget, that's what you need to do. So I was able, because I had the time, to take about 2 hours to make the following things. I made pie crust for quiche we're having later in the week. I made a spice oil, something that I'd never done before, but it's in the Leanne Brown Eat Good and Cheap book. I also made peanut butter and jelly granola bars, also a recipe from that same book. That would give me another option for breakfast or possibly a snack if I needed it, because I just don't think I can eat pancakes every day. But that is the reality for some people, that they have to stick with a very limited menu in order to stay under budget. I also cooked some beans, some black beans that I'm going to be using in a red beans and rice recipe, and in a what's called a half veggie burger that we're having day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be making crock pot tomato soup, and that's going to be it for my preparation. Everything else just has to come together. What I think I got out of all of this was that the amount of planning and the amount of thought and the amount of time, the shopping, the putting the menu together, the pricing everything, the prorating what you already have at home to make sure that you're staying under budget, going to different stores, which many people have to do to stay under budget, which is difficult, especially when you have no transportation. The actual prep, for a lot of working people, particularly the working poor, 2 or 3 hours and the very little time that they have with their families and their kids on the weekend, particularly single parents, that's tough. It's something that they could do with their kids, but a lot of them just don't know how to do that. There are a lot of people that have never even seen a vegetable, or have never baked anything, or don't know that spaghetti doesn't come out of a can. So a lot of it is education, and I'm fortunate enough, and a lot of people who took part in Beth Newman's Eat Good and Cheap for a Week challenge, I think we're all pretty much in the same boat. We have the resources to do what we need to do to stay under budget. So it will be interesting to see how the rest of the week goes. I'm going to check in one more time at the end. I'm going to give you information about a couple of documentary films that address hunger and food insecurity in America, A Place at the Table and Fed Up. And I'm also going to be giving you information about Leanne Brown's book. Know that this is not an endorsement for financial purposes for any of these organizations. These are all done without profit, and particularly Leanne's book, which is an attempt to make sure that she could get paper copies into the hands of people who really need them. These are good resources for you to have. I'm also going to let you know, what it really costs to eat out and how much that eats up almost your entire week's budget. And I'll be giving you menu shots. Thanks. I finished the 7-day challenge. I only went off script once. Went out one evening to see my husband play in a band, and I had a beer in honor of full disclosure. Otherwise, though, I stuck to the plan, and the things that struck me the most, and some of them I've mentioned before, is the fact that it takes a lot of planning and a lot of research and a lot of time. Not everybody has those options. They don't have the computer, they can't get to a library, they can't talk to other people and consult with others about what they do. Sometimes you're in such a situation where you feel like you're all alone and all you want to do is feed your kids and feed your husband and feed yourself so you can work, so that you can get through the day. Waste is a big issue. Ultra careful about not throwing anything away and scraping the bowl completely clean. Thinking through, what can I use, for instance, the celery for? Normally I'd throw out the tips. I didn't do that. I saved them. I used them to stew the chicken. I used them in the tomato soup. I did just about everything I could think of. But again, I had the time and the inclination and the access to resources that other people don't have. Because going through this, I knew I could do this successfully. But I'm not kidding myself. I have the resources to do it. I have a car that I can afford to put gas in. I have access to farmers markets, discount stores, 2 or 3 major grocery store chains. I have the ability to pay my bill and not worry that I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I have people that I can consult with who can give me ideas on how they save money. All of these things I have that others don't have. So to say, was it a success? Yes, it was definitely a success for me and for a lot of women who live my lifestyle, my income level, my level of education, living out here in the suburbs where things are just easier and better. I'm not living in an inner city where I have to rely on 4 buses and 2 trains to get to the one decent grocery store that is available to me, and can only get as much as I can carry back, even if there were things that I did want and could get, but I can't carry them on my back. I don't have 3 little kids that I'm dragging along with me with no other adult in the home to help. I don't have to be forced to go to a corner store or bodega to get milk, a half a gallon for $6, when I have the ability to go to a very nice clean grocery store and get a half a gallon of milk for $2. And it's unfair. And the thing that I'd like to take home from this, and I'd like anyone watching this to remember, is yes, there are food banks. Yes, there are religiously based charities that provide things for people that can't provide for themselves. Yes, there are some government programs, however limited that they are, but here's what we need to remember. Solving hunger and food insecurity in this country, it's not a matter of private charity. It's a matter of public policy. It's as simple as that. And we need to embrace both options, support both options, use our ability to vote, use our voices, do whatever we can to remember that every single person deserves decent food and in amounts that can support them and their families. Thanks.
For more information about Eat Good and Cheap, the $4 a Day Challenge, the Connecticut Food Bank, and other resources, please look at these websites.